we can hopefully see some functions and a little snippet of code. I've also added some breakpoints, and hopefully we can work out what order these breakpoints are going to run in. And also, let's have some inside there. And also just the order of things, and then work out how we can use callbacks, and maybe we might get onto promises as well today to work out how we can order the flow of our application. So how we can choose to have one function run before or after another function, or one bit of code to run before or after another bit of code. So, who wants to start me off? What is going to get returned, or what's going to get returned first? You can even start just explaining what a certain line of code is doing if you want. Just start us off in some way, or any questions as well.
I can see line 4 and 5 starting from 3, that function, and the timeout.
Yeah, so
only displays hello after 2 seconds.
So you reckon line 4 will display hello after 2 seconds inside of that function, yeah? So what does the callback here refer to? What does this argument refer to? Where's that defined? Where's callback defined? What line?
Line 4.
Nope, not line 4. That's where we use it. It's where we invoke it. But where?
Line 3?
Definitely not line 3. Line 12. Yeah. See this function here? That's our argument, isn't it? That's our argument of do stuff 1. We're passing that in to do stuff 1, and we've assigned it to the variable callback. Because essentially that's what it is, right? We're passing a function to another function, which will be called back at whatever point we invoke it. Yeah, callback's just a function that we invoke at a later stage. Yeah, that's all it is. So likewise, the callback here on line 7 is defined down here on line 16. Yeah? So what breakpoint do we expect to run first? By the way, this breakpoint here on line 5 is meant to encapsulate the function declaration. Right? That's what I'm trying to do with that breakpoint. I hope it will work. It might not. It won't let me set one on line 3. Right?
I think it will stop first on 12.
Okay.
Because you are invoking the first function.
So Seb's going for it starts at 12 because we invoke the first function here on 12. Fair enough. Then where will the code go after we invoke do stuff 1? Will it run 13? Maybe I should have put something on 13 as well. Just complicated the question for you, sorry.
No, I'm not sure if it will be line 4 or 5.
So you think possibly line 4, maybe line 5. So you're saying we invoke do stuff 1 and then we actually jump up to the do stuff 1 function and run some code there. Okay.
And then line 16.
Then line 16, so we're invoking the next function.
And then 9 or 10, I don't know.
And 9 or 10 again. Bit confusing the way I've done that. Fair enough. When do 13 and 17
And
run?
then 17.
17 first, before 13? Even though we invoked do stuff 1 first?
Because 1 has a timeout of 2 seconds.
Fair enough. So you're saying the one with the longer timeout will come afterwards.
And then 13.
And then 13.
Or something.
Something like that. Okay. That's Seb's attempt. So in other words, he's saying that, well, what we're going to get logged to the console, in what order? So based on what you've said, 17 should get logged first. So the return value of do stuff 2 is hola. Yeah, makes sense that you've chosen that one first, right?
Yeah.
And then the value of the console log on 13 will come afterwards. Yeah, the return value of do stuff 1 is hello. Right, so we get hola and then hello. In that order. Do people agree, disagree? What bits are they unsure of? All of that code is just two functions, right? All we're asking is what order do these two functions run in? And what order do the various parts of those two functions run in? You going with 12 as well, for a start?
Oh, well, I was trying to understand that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Just shouting out random numbers, fair enough. Any other thoughts, or is it just a bit of a tangle up there?
I'd say that as well.
Yeah, you agree?
4, 16, 9, 17, 13.
Okay, so let me ask a couple of questions. How does our code usually run? Top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, inside out? What does it do? Top to bottom. So usually we'd start on the very first line. So what bit of code will get encountered first, reading top to bottom?
Function, so it's not invoked.
So we have a function, and I know you're saying it's not invoked,
But there's another function invoked, callback.
but something still happens, right, when it reaches that bit of code?
Which is set time.
No, the set timeout won't happen yet. So what does it see? As soon as it sees function, does it just ignore it and jump on to the next bit of code? What does the JavaScript engine do?
It stores in memory or something.
It stores the function in memory, right? So something has still happened here at line 3. So that code is all being stored in memory with a name of do stuff 1 so that we can call it later. So this breakpoint on line 5 should stop first because that's the whole function declaration encapsulated there. And then the breakpoint on line 10 should stop next because it's the whole do stuff 2 function encapsulated there. Then we're getting down to do stuff 1. We invoke that, so line 12 should run. Then we invoke do stuff 1. And that will actually run the inner code inside of do stuff 1. So the set timeout will get run. Does the inside of the set timeout get run yet? Does this inner function here get run yet? Inside of the set timeout. What did we talk about yesterday with the call stack and set timeouts? What happens with those?
No, it runs the background, but then it will go to the next.
Yeah, it's going to queue that, isn't it, on the event queue? Yeah, on the task queue. So that won't get run at this stage. It will get queued somewhere else. After 2 seconds it will get run. So where are we now? So that's sort of been paused. So that means we can resume our flow and get down to do stuff 2. Do stuff 2 does a similar thing. It runs the code inside of do stuff 2. However, it encounters another set timeout. That gets queued as well. But this time the inner function should run after 1 second. So I think we're only left with 13 and 17 to run plus the inner parts of the set timeouts. So what bit runs next? Coming to the crucial bit now. So we've got inner 4, inner 9, 13 or 17. What's going to run next? What did Seb say?
Inner 9.
So you think inner 9 will run next because it's only got a delay of 1 second, yeah? That's your reasoning?
Yeah.
Cool. So if inner 9 runs, what does that force to run as well?
That then forces to run line 17.
Yep, the callback there refers to this callback function. So that will be invoked and force line 17 to run. Then we've only got 2 left, so they follow the same order. Callback 4 should run, which forces line 13 to run. So we haven't really controlled what order we want things to run in, unless you count the set timeouts as controlling it, but it's not a great way to control the flow of your applications. So let's see what happens. We think we're going to get hola and then hello even. And let's see what we get. So first it has stopped on do stuff 1, so it's ignored 5 and 10, so I don't think it's going to stop on those at all, but we'll see. Let's keep going. Then it's jumped up to 4, so it's jumped inside of do stuff 1. Where's it going to go next? Ignoring 5 and 10 for now, because they're not working.
13.
Why 13?
No, what?
17.
Not going to do 17 either, right? Because that's inside of our do stuff 2 function. Hopefully it's going to do 16.
Yeah, 16.
Yep. So then 16 will cause 9 to run. Yeah. And then it's down to the timers. So we're saying the timer should finish first on line 9 to force the callback on 17 to run. Let's see whether it works. Do stuff 1 callback went first. Interesting. Then hello, then that, then that. No, really? I'm going to remove all the breakpoints and see whether we still get the same result. Do stuff 1, that ends there, that ends there. So that's better, right? That's what we expected, is hola to come first and then hello. Why it didn't work when I put the breakpoints there, I have no idea. So the flow is as I just explained previously, not the way.
But the breakpoints shouldn't change.
They shouldn't, no, but they did, right? It was for some reason. If I put them back, we had one there, we had one there, we had one there, 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 12, 13, 16, 17, right? Let's try again. So again, it ignores 10, it ignores whatever the one above that is, 5. So it sets the timeout for the hello callback, invokes do stuff 2, sets the timeout for the hola callback, and then for some reason it goes to the inner hello function first, and console logs hello. Why? Yeah, just with breakpoints, it's changed the order of things.
It's the one as well, right? So we should,
Really?
because you took more than 2 seconds to call the next one.
No, but it's paused, right? The execution should be paused.
Yeah, but the time is counting.
But the time's still counting?
I think so. I don't know. But it makes sense.
It's only logic.
Maybe. It's what, like if I run it and click really fast, it will. It's a good thing to test. We're still waiting. And then it goes there.
On my computer, it works.
Yeah, I think you're right, Esteban, right? Because now we've got it in the correct order. So the timer's still running in the background. So I thought it'd pause the timer as well, but obviously it doesn't.
As soon as you trigger it.
As soon as you trigger it, it's counting in the background. Yeah. Nice, thanks for that. So we have to use longer timeouts, right? If we're trying to do this sort of breakpoint stuff and what runs first. Cool. So watch that back in slow-mo if you're unsure of what order those things went in. Yeah. Maybe I'll do it again just a bit slower. So, I think we're still waiting. And it'll go hola, console log it. Still waiting, but we picked it up now. And then that. Right. So makes sense now at least. Thank you for filling in the gaps in my knowledge there. I should have worked that out, but thank you for spotting it, Esteban. Oh, you just find out now because of this result. I'm just frustrated, right, that it's not working as my carefully curated example. However, we're a bit of a slave, right? We're a slave to time in that sense. We can't control what runs first, only when the counters start. So how do we force do stuff 1 to complete before do stuff 2? How do we control the flow of our application? What could we do? How can I leave these 2 functions alone? I don't want to change them at all. I just want to say make sure do stuff 1 completes before do stuff 2.
Without the timeout?
No, leave the timeout, just leave these lines alone, right? Those functions have been defined. I just want to say make sure the do stuff 1 function completes before do stuff 2 does, even though it takes longer, right? It's got a longer timeout. Kelly, you had a password? Is it do other stuff, did you say? Where's do other stuff?
What was the question?
Asynchronous?
Yeah, so the whole topic's on asynchronous programming, right? So my question is, how do I make do stuff 1 finish before do stuff 2? Even though if we just run the code, do stuff 2 will finish before do stuff 1 because it has a shorter delay or a shorter timeout.
I thought it was asynchronous code.
Yeah, exactly. But how do I write asynchronous code? What are one of the techniques that I can use? Oh, let's get rid of these breakpoints again.
With promises?
Promises is one way, absolutely. Yeah, we spoke about that yesterday. Promises is one way, so we can come on that. The other way is callbacks. Yeah. So how can I use callbacks to make sure that one function runs after another has completed? I'm seeing if these breakpoints are still there. No, awesome. So they're in the correct, well, they're in the order we expect, right? Short task. Put a callback function inside of the set timeout. Don't I technically have that on each one already?
You put async before the function.
Okay, so we're mixing lots of methods at the moment, right? Can we put async before a function? Yeah, we could use callbacks, we could use promises, or we could use the async await syntax, which under the hood just creates a promise anyway. So I'm just wanting to focus on callbacks first, because that's the old traditional way that we used to do things, and then we'll see the more modern way of doing it using promises and async await syntax, yeah? But it's good to understand all the methods because you'll see all of them used in code. So how do I change this code a little bit to make sure that do stuff 2 runs after do stuff 1? Give you a little bit of a clue. We just create yeah, we create a nested function.
We call back underneath the set time out.
I'm leaving these two alone completely. How do I change this code to make sure do stuff 2 runs before do stuff? No, other way around. Do stuff 1 runs before. Exactly, yeah, we just move 1 inside. Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Alright.
And that's the function.
That is that one. That is that one. Nope, we're done wrong. Let's undo. Get my brackets right. It's fine, right? Yeah, good. Don't know what I did before. Now, what's the result going to be? And how long will each task take from the point I click the start button? Change these slightly.
3 seconds.
So both of them are going to complete after 3 seconds?
No, I'm talking about because
Okay, yeah.
you're going to do stuff
I'm being
first.
pedantic, let's be clear so that we're
Okay.
being nice and clear with our answers.
You start one first, right? Because this is how we set it up.
Yeah, we want the longer one to run first.
You want the long one to run first?
Mm-hmm. Shall I rename them slow task and fast task? Will that help?
Yeah.
So we want the slow task to complete before the fast task.
You say you want the fast task one before the slow task.
No, the fast task, as it was, ran before the slow task, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to control that, that will just happen.
Yeah.
But what if we want this slow task to complete and maybe pass on some data to the fast task? Right? So in other words, the fast task depends on the slow task having completed. Yeah, that's a scenario that we need, similar to your fetch, right? You couldn't render your data of your images and your movies before your fetch had completed, which is why a fetch is promise-based, it's asynchronous.
5 seconds.
What's going to take 5 seconds? Both of them?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. So they're both going to suddenly display after 5 seconds, like that.
Okay, even 5. No. 3, 1, and then it's 2 seconds.
3 for the slow
The
task.
slowest one will display in 3 seconds.
Uh-huh.
And the fast one will display in 2 seconds. I could be wrong, I'm just guessing. It's going to be quiet.
Oh. I can never find that symbol. There it is. So how long until I'm slow displays? Or at least the return value of...
3 seconds.
Let's just get rid of that. There's no trick, there's no trick. I'm not trying to trick you.
No, I'm trying not. I mean,
I'm not one of those teachers.
I'm not. I know you're not trying to catch you out. I'm trying you. Because when because not as nested.
I think it will take 3 seconds, and the other one will take 5 in total. 3 plus 2.
Nice. 3. Oh, I should have got rid of that trace because that's confusing things. So, in other words, you did get that I'm slow, but you couldn't see it because of the trace. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah? Yeah. So the first task completed after 3 seconds, and then
2 seconds.
another 2 seconds it took for the other task to run. Yeah.
Easy when you know.
Easy when you know, right? So that's
Oh,
You just have to nest it.
huh?
Yes.
And
Just have to nest it. Yeah, you just have to have a callback function, right? That doesn't.
and there's not some function called wait or
So there's the async await syntax, which was what Ahmed was alluding to, and we'll definitely go on to that. We won't get onto that today. So I've already taken quite a while just on the callbacks. We can either leave it there or we can have a quick look at promises. What do you want to do? Do you want to carry on with your task or you want a quick look at promises? No response whatsoever.
whenever you.
Huh? Leave it there? Are you down to carry on? Okay. So that was just what we've just done. Of course you could rewrite it a bit neater. Or we can have a look at a promise example. So where shall I start? Alright, so this code is roughly replicating what we had before, except this time the slow stuff returns a promise. Yes, we've used the new constructor to create a new promise object. The promise itself takes a function, and that function is returning, in this case, or it's at least setting up a set timeout. So it sets a timeout as before after 2 seconds to log the slow task is complete. Then we would have a separate function for the quicker stuff. Which again logs the quicker task is complete. Also, we'll look at how we can pass maybe a message down, yeah, from the slow stuff to the quicker stuff function, as long as they run in the correct order. If I invoke them just as before, what result are we going to get just invoking normally without using callbacks or anything, just from setting out like that? Any ideas? This is a little bit of a trick question, but just to see your current understanding of it.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
So I just want to know what this code does, basically. Do slow stuff, do quicker stuff. Invoking those, what happens? What gets printed to the console? What goes on?
The first one you call a do slow staff function.
Yep.
And then
So that will run this.
what it will do, yeah, it will return.
Bless you.
Okay, we'll stop a timer.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to understand how the promise will work.
Yeah.
What does the promise do? Does it hold, or does it return straight away, or does it expect and respond before it provokes? What does it do?
So promises have got various statuses, if you like, right? They can be pending, resolved, or rejected.
So now we use it resolve and reject.
So we have created at least some variables that can be used to resolve or reject our promise, yeah?
Okay.
No, I'll run it and see if it's what you expected. So the first task will invoke do slow stuff, but that takes 2 seconds, right? So therefore, straight away we invoke the do quicker stuff afterwards, which means the quicker task gets completed first after 1 second. And also this console log from do slow stuff gets logged as well, but of course because the slow task hasn't completed, we can't pass on any sort of message, right? So the message is undefined. So again, if quicker stuff did depend on slow stuff, then we're in trouble, right?
Which means they run in parallel.
They are running in parallel at this stage. Yeah, you could say that.
Why does I lost? Why does that message depend on the slow one?
It doesn't at the moment. I'm trying to get you to imagine a situation in which we want to control the flow of our applications and have the slow task pass some information to the fast task. So in other words, fast is dependent on the slow stuff, yeah? Okay, so how do I make the slow task complete before running the fast task with promises? I use .then with promises, which is a lot easier, I hope you agree, than passing in callbacks and nesting functions and all stuff like that. So we can have a .then. I suppose I should write it like that. And we can have the fast task, right? Will that work? Still the quicker stuff completes first. Why? We write it like that. Does it make any difference?
So does .then in theory do what in this? I know in this particular example it's the same as what you did with the callback, being when you move the function within the function, you nested it. Does .then do that in theory, or is that what it's actually doing?
Sequential one after the other.
Can you just repeat that phrase, Jack? Sorry.
Yeah, I've really poorly worded that.
No, not at all.
But what .then is doing there, is it literally the same as what you were doing when you use a callback to nest it? Nest the function with the other function?
It's
Where
not.
it can't run until the first line of code is completed? Or
It's
function?
not literally the same. No. It's just waiting until the promise resolves before running any functions that are passed to it. Yeah? So it's not quite the same. We're dependent on the promise resolving. So why did I only get the slow task? It looks like the fast task never ran at all.
Do you need to have another then at the bottom?
No. So did we ever call resolve with our promise? We need to explicitly do that to resolve a promise. If we try it now, task is completed. Yeah. Sorry, that's my fault, right? So what did I do? Why did they run out of order there? Where did I call resolve? I called resolve straight away, essentially, right? So I resolved my promise straight away before the timeout had finished, which is why my quicker task, and we're still waiting for the slow task. Took a little while to resolve it, but so I need to move my resolve inside of my timeout, yeah, so it doesn't resolve until after 2 seconds. Then the slow task will complete, and then the quicker task will complete afterwards, yeah? But I think you'll agree that once you've got your functions set up, this syntax is a lot easier, right, than doing nested callbacks. I think I've unfortunately shut my previous snippet, but it would have been nice to go back and compare the differences there, but this is a lot simpler and easier to read. Maybe the functions themselves were still a bit complicated, which is where async await will come in, but that's essentially how we invoke them in the correct order. Remember to resolve them. Right, next, how do we pass a message onto our subsequent task? So at the moment it's still undefined, right? The message from do slow stuff is undefined.
Yeah, and fast task at the bottom after them.
Here,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
What if we type something
Okay, like what?
like hello?
Like hello?
Yeah.
Just that?
Yeah,
And then run?
yeah,
Is it going to fix it, guys? General consensus, yes or no? No? Yeah? Technically, that works, but we've hard-coded in hello. Has that message actually come anywhere from the slow task code? No. Yeah? So what if we didn't know what the result was going to be beforehand? This isn't a very useful approach. Sure, we've passed something directly into our fast task function.
Okay, it would be the other way would be something like the message, but we need to find out what the message is. We have to make it dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So we got our code there.
Return it in slow task is better. Where would I return? Here? Let's do something different just so in case. Yellow? Yellow? I don't know. Still undefined. From returning something there, yeah? You have to think of the resolve as like the return for promises.
Oh,
Yeah, it resolves with that bit of data.
I missed it, right.
Thank you. I'll come back to it. Now, yeah, when the promise resolves, it sends the data further down in the chain and stores it inside of whatever variable you call here. It doesn't have to be message, right? We could have used anything. ABC, ABC, right? That will still work.
Don't you have to change it there as well?
Nope, they don't have to match, right? This is a separate function. This is an arrow function that passes.
But if it's an arrow function, you don't need those scalar braces, do you, after them?
From slow, right? So that comes from slow, and that's from slow. Oops. What actually is it? Well, it's a message, so I've called it a message. Yeah. As long as this one and this one match, and these two match
Between them.
inside of the actual function, yeah, then you're good to go. But that and that don't have to match. Right? Cool. what happens if we get an error somewhere? For the purpose of this, I won't create, well actually yeah I will. Alright. So I've created a variable called which is a new error object. And then if an error exists, which in this case it does, because I've just created one, what can I do to make sure that I don't end up resolving anything? Reject, yeah, fantastic. So we've got a resolve up here. We've also got a reject. So we've got this option to reject our promise if there was an error. So we just call it in the same way, reject, and this time I'm going to pass the error into the reject function. Which is something went wrong. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'll leave it like that. Okay. Hey?
You don't need semicolon after the
If
Not
what
after
there?
Not after that. One second.
After that, yeah, should probably have one there as well. Okay, so now I hope my promise won't resolve. Well, actually, it might. What have I done here? I have a new error object. Yeah, uncaught in promise. Something went wrong. Yeah. So, is it not liking that syntax as well? Uncaught in promise. Maybe if I define an error object, it will automatically try and handle it. I'll do it a different way if that is a problem. How do I usually catch errors in JavaScript? Does anyone know? Yeah, I used the word. I didn't mean to use the word. Dot catch. Let's see whether it automatically does it or not. Yeah, nice.
So the reject will skip all the then, sort of then, until it gets to catch.
Fantastic, yeah.
Is that right?
So Faraj has noticed that as well. So did our fast task complete? Nope. Why? Because we never resolved our promise. We rejected it. So everything that is chained on to the task that throws the error gets ignored. So that bit got ignored this time. And it just jumped straight to the catch block and did whatever I told it to do there. What did I tell it to do? Log the error. And that's it, right? So one, that's how you create a little custom error for yourself. and it's also how you handle errors inside of promises. Right? You can call the reject function and pass in an error object to it. Doesn't have to be an error object. I could have passed in a string, whatever, but it just made sense to use an error object. And therefore, because reject has been called, it will ignore the resolve. It won't go any further, right? Think of promises as having two dependent returns, one for rejections and one for resolutions. It's not the right word. I don't think I can use it in that way. Resolvations. Okay, I like that better.
Results and resolutions together.
Yep. You get the idea, right? You can reject them or resolve them rather than just returning stuff from promises. And you can pass on whatever you resolve or reject further on down the chain. Resolves go to the next dot then, rejects go to the first catch they encounter. Cool. I think that's a nice place to stop. Any questions on what we've covered today? Would you like those two snippets again?
I wrote it down already.
Okay, 5 minutes wrote down.
Ahmed's written it down. Okay. So Ahmed can type it up for us and send it around to everyone. Yeah.
So, up in the promise where you have resolve and reject, I've seen some code where they have interrupt
if error, throw error. So throw catch block. Let's try it, right? If error, throw error. Throw's not like that, right? I think it's written like that. Then that may also go to my catch block, I hope. No, it doesn't. It's an uncaught error. How about if we throw it directly? No, not like that. Can you only use throw inside of a try? I don't know. I'd have to look it up, to be honest. Yeah.
Does it just like throw the message inside the console?
Yeah, I mean the typical way to handle errors was through your throw catch blocks, right? You could have that all within a try block, so you could try some bit of code, and then if something happened, throw an error, and then your catch would handle that further on down that you chain onto your function. But yeah, I'd need to look up how you do that within promises, or whether you don't do it within promises. But for now, I would stick to using resolve reject inside of promises. And if you want to handle other errors, then yeah, look at try blocks and throw catch. Yeah, syntax. Cool. Yeah, if you want, we can do a little bit on error handling at some point, but let's not mix it up, I don't think, with the two. That's all right. Yeah. Anything else? Nope. All good.